Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm just going to be doing a collection update video. This is going to run in conjunction with my EDC video that I should have just posted as well. It's going to be a lot more detail on the knives, of course, because I'm not going over all my EDC stuff. So if you don't really care what I'm carrying, which honestly isn't a lot, then this is going to be the video for you. I'm just going to go through and do some mini reviews and kind of talk about what function each knife serves in my collection. So I'm just going to start randomly with the Sebenza 21. This one is the small and single blade. So, the Sebenza has really been in my collection in one form or another since the beginning, maybe about 6 months into the beginning. I thought I'd never be able to afford a Sebenza like all of us did. Whoops, I started with the Kershaw Blur and then moved up to a PM2, but $100 was still a lot. The PM2 is a really expensive blade for me. But once I got a Sebenza, it's always stayed in my collection. The other versions that I've owned a large 21 micarta Insingo, so this one but bigger with micarta inserts. A standard 21 with the clip point blade, just gorgeous blade. I still love the clip point. I think the Sebenza with the clip point is one of the most attractive blades. I've owned a small regular actually that was a unique. You can check out my Instagram and see pictures of that if you scroll down. It's J-Dub Knives, by the way, but the Sebenza regular was really cool. I eventually sold it. I forgot why, but maybe because I just saw it as a duplicate in my collection, which I try to avoid a lot of duplicates. Anyway, so, and then I also had, wait, actually I think that's about it. And now I have this one. And the reason why I went with the small Insingo is because this is the perfect EDC blade in my opinion. This knife cuts amazing, even though it's got about the same blade stock as a regular 21, because it's just smaller and has that the point that's dropped down. This is just like the blade that if I know I'm going to be cutting like cardboard, or if I'm going to be cutting normal knife stuff, this knife is great for that. I mean, all of these knives are pretty much great for that, but this one is just the perfect utility one because it's small, so it's not bigger than it needs to be. It's not like the SOCOM Elite where you go to cut something and you're like, I don't need all this blade. But, you know, you have just as much blade as you need, not too much, not too little. And it's easy to carry. It fits in well. This is a great summer carry also. Whenever I'm wearing like gym shorts or something, this knife will come with me. I haven't owned it for too long, but I've worn gym shorts a lot because there were a couple of hot days actually here in Kentucky this winter. But that's really what this knife serves. It's just designed perfectly. It feels good in my hand. I'm able to get all 4 fingers on it, and I just feel like I can just do a lot of cutting with it, and it's just EDC perfection right here. I just love it. So there's really nothing bad I can say about it. Ooh. Almost cut myself there. So that's the Sebenza 21. I think that if you own it, or if you have a knife collection, you should own it, or at least try it some Chris Reeve, because a Sebenza I feel like will never leave my collection. I will always have a Sebenza just because it's that great. And as you can see, I'm flicking this one open with ease. No problems there. And of course, it's cranked down, so absolutely no blade play. That's the Sebenza 21. How about the Swish Bowie, since I just decided to pick that one up spur of the moment? Man, Spyderco's best Spyderco. If you haven't watched my review on this guy, please do. I think I went pretty deep into it, talking about why this is my favorite Spyderco and why I think it's the... Whoop. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not left-hand efficient, but why I think it's the best Spyderco. Oh, man, oh well. Ooh, did you hear that clunk? Let me try that again with this. Ooh. That's beautiful. Anyway, sorry. It sounds really nice. It comes out with a loud thwack. But first off, this blade is just gorgeous. With this mirrored polish finish, this is probably the finish that I love most on a knife. Just kind of a mirror polish stonewash finish. Maybe that or a hand rub satin, but it is just gorgeous. And then I love that they have a Bowie blade shape. I think that's really cool. It's it's a just great functional knife as well. This knife is ground really thin. I'm able to cut a lot with this. I have cut, this knife has definitely been run through its paces since I've owned it. I've owned it while I worked at Kroger's, so I was breaking boxes there. While I've been at work here, so it's opened several boxes, and it was actually, this was the knife, this and the SNG were the two knives that while I was unpacking my stuff at college, opened a ton of boxes, a ton of double layer, double walled cardboard paper. This knife and the SNG both rocked it and both killed it. It feels great in the hands. It's got an amazing finish, great fit and finish. Oh. Didn't want to cut myself there, but yeah, there you go. You can see it just free drops. I don't understand why Spyderco discontinued this without replacing it, but it doesn't really bother me because I've got mine, and if it goes up in value, that's cool. I'm never going to sell it, but that's the Swish Bowie. Never leaving my collection again. I've already had one of these before in the past and sold it, and I need another one, so I got it back. So I don't want to go another time span without owning this knife. And it's really fun for me, at least, maybe for y'all, if you go to my Instagram and you can just scroll through and see how my collection has changed, and you can kind of probably guess what knives I sold to fund what purchase. So you'll see that the Swish Bowie, my old SOCOM Elite, the Olamic Wayfarer 247, and the Todd Begg Steelcraft, the Quaken, all disappeared by the time I got my first Norseman, and that's why it went to go fund my Norseman. So you can kind of deduce and figure out, oh yeah, that's why I sold, or that's why he sold that blade, to fund this. So anyway, moving on, let's go to the newest guy on the block here. Well, not the newest actually. The SOCOM would be the newest, but the second newest, I guess. This is the Spyderco Mannix 2 Sprint Run Blade HQ. I've owned two different Mannixes before, a lightweight version and S110 version, and I liked both. I wasn't a fan of the FRN, but I liked the G10 one, and I really like this one. The Mannix is just so comfortable in the hand. It's crazy. This and the XM18 are probably, and maybe the SOCOM and the Norseman. Wow, okay, I have a lot actually, but those are probably the knives that feel best in my hand. But like, all the contours and grooves are in the right place. It's just, it kind of looks like they just took some silly putty and then just like gripped it, and then they're like, okay, so that's how we're gonna make the handle. And if that's what they did, then it worked. Whatever they did, it worked. I like the jade natural, whatever you want to call it, G10. I think it's really cool. It's a good contrast to the rest of my collection too. It's a very bright knife, which I think is cool because of the combination of that and the non-coated blade, which, as you can tell, that's my preference, non-coated blades. But the M4 is great. It's going to perform really well. This knife is definitely going to be a great user knife because it's Spyderco. It feels great. It's got the great hole for deployment. The CPM M4 is going to hold up great under abuse. I'm really happy to own this knife. That being said, I'm going to Spirit of the Blade next week, and I was planning on being able to go to Blade Show, but due to a series of unfortunate events, I will not be able to go to Blade Show this year like I really was hoping to. So I'm going to have to watch it on YouTube again, third year in a row. That's a little disappointing, but I'll get over it. Anyway, my point is I'm going to Spirit of the Blade up in Ohio in a week, and if there's a knife that I just really need to have, I'm going with some money, but not a ton. But if there's a knife there that I just really need, this knife is probably going to be the first one out of the collection that would go. I really hope it doesn't come to that. I really hope that what I bring is enough to get me something that I really will enjoy and there'll be a good addition to the collection. But if there's something outstanding, this one will be the first one to go. But, you know, it's got a great lock. I love the looks of Spyderco's too. A lot of people don't like the looks of some of these guys. I like it. I think they look really functional. They look cool. They look, I don't know, they just look cool. They don't look beautiful per se, but they just look like, I like the looks of Glocks and SIGs, like the SIG P226 and stuff. They are kind of plain looking, or the Glocks especially. A lot of people hate the looks of Glocks. I like it. It's cool looking. It's not necessarily like stunningly beautiful, like maybe the mini Tolk is, which I'll get to. So I like the looks of it. So that's another pearl on this blade. So that is the Mannix 2. Since I just brought it up, Brad Southern mini Tolk. Man, I love this guy so much. I love all the details on it. The pivot ring, the inlays, the backspacer, the custom pivot, the hand rub satin flats with the stonewash bevel. Camera's having trouble focusing. Sorry, guys. Come on, focus. There we go. Well, there we go. The nice finish and stuff. I finally put my edge on it. By the way, this lighting is not the most flattering to my edges. If you ever have had a polished edge, you know that there are some lightings where it looks more polished than others. And actually, in this case, for my edges, there's some lighting that just makes it look not polished, but every other lighting makes it look really good. This is the one that kind of makes it look unpolished and doesn't make it look its best, but it's nicely polished and it cuts really well now. It's ground super thin. This is a knife that's like, it's not so beautiful that you worry you're going to scratch it and mess it up. I don't feel like I'm going to do that with this knife, but it is just beautiful looking. It's functional also, super thin behind the edge, super lightweight, the lightest weight blade on the table definitely. Disappears in the pocket. It's great for work also. It carries really deep. Something like the SNG I cannot carry for my office work anymore. It just sticks out of my slacks so much. But the mini Tolk is definitely a viable option. Flips out. It's probably one of the best flippers I've ever owned. And I've owned a lot of knives, guys. Again, you can see from my Instagram and from my previous YouTube history. I think the previous knife that I said was the best flipper was a Shirogorov 95T, but I think the mini Tolk definitely won it from that. It's super smooth. I mentioned in my review how it wasn't smooth. I don't know what was wrong with that particular time. I reassembled it, but after I sharpened it, I took it apart, reassembled it, tuned it up properly, put some nice oil in there, and now it is just butter smooth. Yeah, you don't feel any of those bearings rolling around anymore. It's just great. So that is the mini Tolk. These are really hard to get. You have to talk to Brad, or I got mine from Brad specifically. And I was one of the first batches. I'm pretty sure this was like, I was the first or second person to get their hands on it because I was the first one that posted about it on any of the groups or on Instagram or anything, so that's pretty cool. How about, no, let's save that one for last actually, because I just want to do that. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Not much I can say about this guy that you don't already know. I mean, I love the red, I love the M390 on this limited edition one. It's one of the reasons I still own it, just because it's now the amazing functionality and awesomeness of the Paramilitary 2, but a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more harder to get, less common. I realized that I think one of the reasons I like some of these knives is not necessarily because they're exclusive and hard to get. I think that plays a part in it. But I think the major thing is I don't want it to be common. I don't want everyone to own the knives that I have, or I don't want to own the knives everyone else has. So the Paramilitary 2, this limited edition one, is definitely rather unique and hard to get. I think I got $190 for it, but recently I've seen them go $200 and $220 and up actually on blade forums and Facebook and all that. But it's just a great functional blade. This M390 is crazy sharp. It is one of the best action Paramilitary 2s. It actually took a while to break in, but it's got perfect centering, absolutely no blade play with this type of blade, which is just amazing. So that's the red Paramilitary 2. This one I don't think is going anywhere. I've gone through about like 4 Paramilitary 2s before this one. I actually went through the Blade HQ exclusive one of these two, and that's why I got rid of my original Strider. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I mean, it's a great knife, but I definitely like the red on the Paramilitary 2 over the natural. I think the natural kind of fits the Mannix more, if that makes sense. So that's the Paramilitary 2. How about the Strider? Man, This is a knife that a lot of people hate. I think it's funny. I went to the One Stop knife shop, which is like 10 minutes away from here. By the way, if you live in Louisville, that's a thing. You should definitely go check that guy out. He's awesome. He's the one that actually started Blade Forums, by the way. He's a great guy. But he hates Mick Strider's guts. Every time I mention Strider, oh my gosh, he just goes off. And whenever I talked about a Microtech SOCOM someone was trying to sell me with up and down play, it was one of the original ones, but it was with up and down play and 100% lockup. The guy was asking $475. I was talking to the One Stop Knife Shop owner, and he said that, you know, that's basically a Strider, and I did not tell him that I own a Strider at that point. But I do, and I love it. Okay, this knife is definitely one of my favorites. This one isn't leaving the collection anytime soon. I can pretty much be sure of that because I've sold this one before in the past. I could not live without it. Well, I could, but I mean, why should I have to if I had a way of getting it back? So I got it back. I love the OD on this one. I love the flame titanium combo with the mirror polished stonewash blade. Again, the mirror polished stonewash blade is my favorite. I like how versatile it is. You can choke back and have a nice tactical grip or have a nice reach, and you can choke up. Really get some work done in here, really get some fine control. I've taken this guy camping. I've EDC'd with it. I've taken it while I've been pulling out sheetrock or drywall, whichever one it's called, for houses after Harvey, since I live in Houston. I'm in Louisville for college, by the way, in case you're confused about that. But anyway, this knife has been put through its paces for sure. I did not baton wood with it, but I split wood with it. I've done a ton of wood fire prep with this guy. It is actually held up great. Considering all of that, I've only sharpened it once, and dadgum, it's still like crazy sharp. I just sharpen my knives and strop them every once in a while, and that seems to do the trick. But anyway, this guy, I just absolutely love it. The S30V has been heat treated by Strider, of course, and so I love the sounds. It's just a cool knife. It's got that rock solidness about it. It's probably not as solid as that sounds or as I think, but it's solid enough for me, and I don't ever think I need to be worried about that. So this is kind of my actual beater in the collection. I know beater kind of loses all of its meaning recently, but if I were to have a knife right now, it'll be the Mannix 2 and this guy. But where if I have to do something with it that maybe knives shouldn't really be doing all the time, this is the guy that I'm going to be bringing. So that's my Strider. I absolutely love that guy. Microtech SOCOM Elite. Ooh. This is another guy that I am not, or that I have sold in the past and that I bought back. And, well, I didn't actually buy it back. So I sold it in the past. It was the S35VN 2012 OD green with a satin clip point blade. And I love that guy. Like I said, it got sold to fund my first Norseman. I didn't really regret it. I wish that I hadn't sold it. I wish I just waited and gotten the money somewhere else. But that was also back where I got the Norseman for $1,000 like a year ago, whenever they were going for like $1,400. So I got a steal back then. Now it's still a reasonable price. But I've also had it longer than the guys that are getting it for around the same price. So anyway, that's a different topic. I might bring that up in my re-review of the Norseman. But anyway, SOCOM Elite. I miss it. I have missed it since I sold it. And I've tried to pick another one up several times. I've either not gotten any bites or not been able to find one. I actually missed an Apostle P sale where he sold 3 of them. I missed it by like 20 minutes and they were all sold at an amazing price. They were like $320 for some of the old clip point ones, even with carbon fiber. I killed myself, and now I actually, every time I think about it now, I still get really upset about it. But anyway, all that aside, this is one of the new 2018 models. If you haven't seen my first impressions video on it, definitely check it out. I start kind of looking into this knife a little bit, telling y'all what I've noticed just carrying it so far. But This one may leave the collection. I don't think it will, just because I love the SOCOM Elite. The once I get an OD Green Clip Point 2018 version, I think this guy's still going to stay. The Tanto blade hasn't bothered me at all in carrying it. I'm not a Tanto guy, but this and the Norseman, I guess, are the exceptions. It's got a beautiful handle. This is definitely my just wickedly awesome high-speed, low-drag knife, but I love it. I love it so much. It's so solid. And everyone that I've handed this to and they flipped it open, they've been, man, this is a knife. This is solid. I love how, like, beefy it is. And honestly, it's not too beefy. I mean, you compare it to the SNG, and it's going to be right around that same length or that same thickness. But yeah, everyone's just like, it's just solid, and that's true. It is very solid, and I don't plan on not having a SOCOM in my collection now. So there's that guy. Now, here's the pinnacle of my collection. I think it would be either this or the Mini Tolk, but probably this guy. This is the groomsmen Norseman, of course. And with my new bronze anode screws, kind of match the hardware. Oh my gosh, guys. The Norseman is just, to this day, one of my absolute favorite knives. I first sold a ton of knives to get it. That was around a year ago, I want to say. Actually, I think that was around a year and a half ago. Because a year ago is whenever I got this guy. So yeah, it was around a year and a half ago or so. Maybe 2 years whenever I got my first Norseman. It was an all blue one. It had the old hardware, including the old pivot. But that was a grail for me that I just loved owning and having. I eventually sold it to fund a bodega, and so I had a bodega and a 95T, which I love both of those knives too. But ultimately, I wanted a Norseman more than I wanted the bodega, and so I sold the 95T to get the Norseman back. I wish I had just kept my Norseman and bodega, but for some reason I sold the bodega for school. So that's a worthy cause, I think, to get rid of the bodega. One of these days I will hopefully own another one again. But yeah, so that was a sacrifice, and I really wish I didn't do that. But anyway, ever since that short period where I didn't have a Norseman, I've owned one. I've owned two different other ones. One that had kind of like a grayish pink ano and then purple flats, and that one was a really cool one too. But this one is my favorite for sure. I don't really plan on getting rid of this one either. If I do, it would be for another Norseman, maybe a Damasteel one, but I really don't see that happening. I'm really fond of this one. I've gotten really attached to it. It's got the perfect Norseman action. Just absolutely beautiful. And I'm so thankful. Hopefully you are subscribed to Hype EDC's channel now. He was formerly the Adventure Survival Project or something like that. But he just got his first Norseman. So I carried this guy today to kind of honor or commemorate that. Because we've been friends for around 3 years now. Close to when we both got into the hobby. And we both had been oohing and awing over Norseman, and I got one long before he did, mainly because he couldn't justify it, and he finally got to the point where he could justify it. And he had a sick opportunity too. He was able to sell his Strider for like $600. But anyway, once he was able to justify it, he finally pulled the trigger on it, and I think he's never. I don't think he's regretted it yet, and I don't think he will. Norseman is just amazing. It's got a nice rounded spine. A re-review's coming up on this guy. The only thing I can say about this knife that I don't 100% get or like is kind of the jimping. It's really not functional at all, and I wish that they had just kept a rounded spine down the side too. I feel like that would have been really comfortable, or down the back too. But anyway, that's the Norseman. A lot of backstory on it, less about the knife. It's super comfortable. It's got a really functional blade shape. It's got the finish that I love on it. It's got amazing touches and finishes and stuff. You can see that this guy has definitely been carried a lot. Let me see if my camera will focus again. There we go. Yeah, you can see there are all sorts of marks and scuffs on it. Because even though I love this knife, I do carry it, and I love it more while I'm carrying it. So I actually love that it's marked up. If it gets to the point where I'm not loving it anymore, I'll just send it back to the bros and they'll refinish it for me. So now I'm going to do something kind of interesting. I am going to separate my knives because, as I'm sure if you've been with the channel at any length of time, you know that I go through blades like no one's business. Like, sometimes it's been a problem in the past where I've like sold blades that I've said that I've been going to keep. I just recently have done that with the Junior. I think I did that with the Rubicon as well. I just go through the honeymoon phase and I think, no, this isn't the honeymoon phase, but it turns out it is, and another knife comes out that I think I would enjoy more. So I'm going to separate my knives into the ones that I think are going to stay in the collection forever, and the ones on this side, it's going to be the ones that will stay in the collection forever, and on this side it's going to be the ones that I think could possibly go, but I really like, and they could very well stay in the collection. So that's really where I'm going to land. These four are never going to leave my collection. I have no doubt about that. The Mini Tolk, I actually really want to stay in my collection. And I think to myself, like, I maybe would get a Rask out of it because I love the Grimsmos and the Rask just looks amazing. This guy could very well fall in this area. Because I'll think about it for a second, like, what if I could get a Rask out of this? Then, like, no, I just love this way too much, and it's just so great. And it's just a really awesome carry from Brad. And really cool that I was able to customize it, and I was one of the first ones to get it. So this one, some days we'll go back and forth, and it'll be like, no, I'll never sell that too. Wait, what if I could get a Rask out of it? Nah, I won't do that. So in the future, that could happen. I really don't want it to. I really don't want to have the option of getting rid of it, and so it might stay in the collection forever. But that's kind of in the middle there. Same with the SOCOM, and what I mean by that is just this one in particular. Maybe once I get the clip point with the OD and satin blade, I will have no need for this one at all. I think it would be cool to have two also because Hype EDC tells me that I bring this up too often, and he's probably right. But I'm going to work contracting in the summer again. I've done that in the past. And it would be really cool to have a SOCOM for normal EDC and then a SOCOM Tanto blade where I can do scraping and I can, really just kind of wail on it and not have to worry about having a not nice SOCOM that, yeah, if that makes sense. So the Tanto one is the only one that might go. I feel like I'm always going to have a SOCOM in the collection now, like I said. Paramilitary 2 I put over here just because this and the Mannix would be the first to go if I really am just starting to chase a grail. It would be this guy and the Mannix. I really hope that day never comes. I need to learn to be content, but this would be one of the guys that would go. And I already talked about the Mannix. So that's where I'm at now. Now I'm going to do... well, actually, I think I'm done. So I'm just going to lay these out for you guys. This has been, the collection video. I really hope that it will grow and continue to grow, especially after next week. I'm looking to add maybe a booze blade smoke. I've also had my eye on the Olamic Busker. I think that would be a really cool knife to add to the collection. Oh, did you hear that? Oh, yeah. Anyway, so those are the ones that I'm looking at. I might pick up again. I really miss the Bodega and the 95T. Those, hopefully, in the future, maybe whenever I'm out of college and I have more money I can spend, which I know is actually not going to happen. I can just picture all you adults, wise adults, who are saying, hey, once you get out of college, the bills are just going to come even more, which you're probably right. But... anyway, those are some of the ones that are on my radar. The Booze Blade Smoke, the Busker, the 95T, and maybe the Bodega somewhere along that. Also the new, actually also the new Spyderco Integral. I forgot what it's called. And then the Spyderco Smock. Those are the other two that are also on my radar. I don't know when I'm going to pick any of those up. The Bodega and the 95T, like I said, are probably going to be way down there. So then the ones... so that just leaves the rest as the ones that I'm lucky to leave to get soon. But I really don't plan on getting rid of these guys soon. Like I said, if I were, it would be these two just to sacrifice for a grail. They're the ones I'm least attached to, but I still absolutely love them. And I think they're the best of the Spyderco, of what Spyderco can put out of their Golden, Colorado factory, and they're just stellar knives. So anyway, this is going on 30 minutes. I did not know it was going to go this long. Hopefully, if you like knives, you found it interesting, and you like the discussion and me rambling on about stuff you probably don't care about. So I will catch you guys in the next video.